Good day, folks. Tom here. Welcome back to another video on the Racing Joker channel. You've probably found this video for a few reasons. One, you're a subscriber already, or you're trying to study for your CDL test in Illinois. Well, today's video, I just wanted to talk to you about, my journey of getting my CDL back. I've been practicing, refreshing. I've been on a yard with 160 Academy over here in Illinois, and turns out I still know how to drive. So I test this Friday. Sorry, I have a head-splitting headache, and I'm solving it with caffeine. So in Illinois, you have to know how to do some parking maneuvers, very straightforward, and you have to do a road test, also very straightforward. And turns out I remember how to drive a manual semi-truck, so I'm taking the test in a goddamn 10-speed manual, double clutching like you should, because I remember how to do that, apparently. I'm doing it better now than I did back when I first did it in 2021, and I only did it for like a week and a half when I first learned how to do it. So I think also the trucks that 160 have are just in really good condition, so that's also really cool. So I've got my driving down pat, I got my maneuvers down pat. It's just the pre-trip stuff. And so what I'm going to do for myself and for anyone who else is studying is I'm going to create this video where I go through the pre-trip in GTA 5 like how I did back in 2021 when the pre-trip test was harder. It's a lot less detailed now. There's fewer things you have to talk about, but there are a few things you want to say and you want to make sure you get it right. So I'm going to kind of read off. I don't have it all memorized yet, but I'm going to read off my booklet here. Say everything that needs to be said to get a perfect score by saying the bare minimum, I should say. I'm not going to be saying exactly word for word what you need to say for everything, but I will be saying enough to get you a perfect score. The only thing you need to make sure you get perfect is the air leakage test when you're inside the truck. Everything else, as long as you describe what you're seeing and you're saying what condition it needs to be in, that seems to be pretty much it. It seems pretty straightforward. So, let's do this. Let's hop into GTA 5. Also, check out my subscriber count. Awesome. I also recently finished the GTA 5 single-player playthrough, so I figured it'd be fine to just hop into this. Thank you guys for watching those streams. You guys voted for Saints Row the 3rd remastered over Assassin's Creed 1 for the next live playthrough. That's pretty funny. I wouldn't have expected that from you guys. I thought Assassin's Creed 1 was going to win. So who should I do this with? I feel like it'd be really funny to do it with Trevor, so give me a second. Wherever the hell he is. Probably murdering someone. I'm gonna turn on vehicle god mode just because, well, last time I made this video showing people how to pre-trip a truck, my truck exploded. Steering shaft. And if your truck explodes, that probably means it shouldn't have passed DOT inspections. Alright. Gotta take this puppy to the port. Alrighty. I'm definitely building this after I build the M3. I've decided I'm making a replica of this car. This car is just too freaking cool. It's too freaking special. I never thought I'd want to build a replica car, though. So let's head over to the port. And we'll do so by going... Shabooey. Now, we're gonna need a semi-truck. We got loads of trailers out here. We can hook up to we could hook up to some of these reefers, like how I used to haul for, Target. But I need a tractor first. How about I just park this thing here? I didn't mean to rev it. I think we might just have to spawn a rig in. Oh, that's not my type of music. This should be perfect. So let's hook up to our trailer. Yeah, let's get one of the reefers. I think that'd be really fun. Nice and easy. Alright. So some of the things you need to know how to do. I'll also make sure I have wanted levels off. Never wanted. Let's just park her. Alright. So, some of the things you have to know how to do. For the CDL test, at least in Illinois, you gotta do the road test and the skills test. Skills is pretty straightforward. So, first thing you gotta do for the skills test is they want you to do a straight pull forward. So they'll have you start behind a line, and they'll have you pull forward, and without stopping until you get to where you want to be. If you stop before you want to be, you fail. You have to get your front bumper inside a box. And then once you've done that, you honk, and then you pull forward, and then you do a straight back. And you have to get it behind a line. And once you've done that, you honk. And then the next thing you got to do, it's a little hard to demonstrate because I don't have the cones and the markers, but what you do is you get the front of your truck to clear a cone. You move over to another lane, and then you get your back wheels of the tandems of the trailer to clear a cone, and then you get them to kind of go through a certain spot, the thread anneal. You get yourself straight, and then once you've completed the maneuver, how they'll show you how to do it, you honk, and then you back up and kind of do the same thing in reverse. It's a little hard to do with a game. And then you kind of go back to where you started. You get a certain number of pull forwards. They also tell you which lines you're not allowed to cross, how many points you lose if you hit cones and stuff. I've been doing this all perfectly, pretty much, in real life, so I haven't had to study on it that much. It's all the pre-trip stuff. And then when you do that, you want to make sure that the bumper bar of the trailer is in a square space. And then once you've done that, you've made sure. You get in the truck, and you honk it to let them know you're done, and that's your skills. And then you do the road test, and that's pretty easy. But the thing I need to work on is the pre-trip. Now, the pre-trip used to be you do in-cab stuff, and then they give you section A, B, or C. And each section was basically a section of the trailer. Like, A was like the engine and like everything up to the door, and then B was like some of this area, and then the coupling, and then C was just the trailer. When I did it, I got section C, so I did everything on the trailer, which was pretty easy. But you don't have to talk about like tire tread 2/32. You don't have to talk about the locking rods of the trailer doors. You don't have to talk about the sliding rails of the tandems. You don't have to talk about the cross members of the trailer. You don't have to talk about how high the airlines need to be, how far the mud flaps need to be from the ground, all kinds of stuff that you just don't need to talk about anymore. So I'm going to go over it, since it's all changed since September, I believe. September or maybe February. It doesn't matter. It's all changed, and I figured I would put this together. So I'm going to go into first person. Apparently this semi-truck is supercharged. I've never heard of a supercharged semi-truck before. I'm pretty sure they're all turbo. When it comes time for your pre-trip test, now what they're going to have you do is they're going to have you get in the truck just right away. Before you do anything in the pre-trip, I would put your seatbelt on, make sure your seatbelt is on, and then you're going to perform what is called a neutral safety start. You're going to make sure both spring brakes are popped out, and that all the parking brakes are on. That's basically all you're checking. Make sure the transmission is in neutral if you're using a manual truck. Just give it that little wiggle that people do. Turn the key to the on position to turn on the electronics, but don't actually start the truck. Watch the gauges sweep. Watch the lights come on and go off. Basically, for this truck that I'm going to be using, watch the ABS light to come on and go off. If it goes off, that means the ABS has no faults. If it stays on, there's a fault or it's not working. And then, when you start the truck, you just turn the key, push the clutch in if you have to, and hover your hand over the key and watch the oil pressure gauge, because you want to make sure that it rises to somewhere between 20 and 60 psi. If it doesn't do that, shut the truck off. This prevents damage to the engine. Now, this is the part that's super important, the air leakage section. You have to get this perfect or they fail you. And I'm talking you don't miss a detail, and you don't mince your words, don't be vague, be specific and clear. Basically, just say what I say. So, to start my air leakage test, I'm going to make sure the air pressure of the primary and secondary air tanks are at somewhere between 120 to 125 psi, making them fully charged. Put the transmission in first gear if it's a manual truck, and then turn the truck off, leaving it in first gear. This means you don't have to chalk the wheels for all of the tests you're about to do. Then, turn the key back to the on position without starting the truck so that all of the electronics are working and will allow you to conduct the tests. Well, let's start with the static leakage test. It's very, very simple. What you are going to do is push in both the tractor and the trailer brake valves, and you are going to say, after the initial loss of 10 to 15 psi, there should be no more than 3 psi lost in 1 minute. While watching the air gauges, after you've pushed in the valves and the air pressure has been lost, you will count 1001, 1002, 1003, and just keep going until the proctor says you're all set. If they let you do the whole minute, go all the way up to 60, and then say the 60 is up, test was successful. Up next, you're going to want to do the applied leakage test. This basically just means instead of pushing in a brake valve, you are going to be pushing in the brake pedal. Before you press the brake pedal, you are going to say, I will perform the applied leakage test. I will apply firm pressure to the brake pedal, and then after the initial loss of 10 to 15 psi, there should be no more than 4 psi lost in 1 minute. And you'll measure that by saying 1001, 1002, until the 60 seconds is up, or until the person tells you you're good. And just personal advice, say what you're going to do before you do it. Don't say it as you do it, or do it as you say it, however you want to put it, because you might screw up. Especially because you're going to be talking about an initial loss of PSI, and then you need to talk about, PSI lost over time, 60 seconds. And if you're saying, I've just pushed in both brake valves, and after that 10 to 15 PSI, I don't want to see more than this in a minute. By the time you've said 10 to 15 PSI, your minute has already started. So just say what you're going to do and then do it, if that makes sense. So after that, you're good. The next one is the low air warning test. Now, keep in mind, your low air warning light might come on while you're doing some of these other tests. Don't let that slip you up. Even if, as you're doing the applied leakage test, it starts saying low air warning, don't acknowledge it. Don't say anything about it. Just pretend it didn't happen. It's not part of the test you're doing, because if you mention it, you'll fail. So if, as you're watching it go 1001, 1002, oh, hey, look, low air warning. You can't skip. So you failed. It's very particular. So after you've done the static and the applied leakage tests, now you're going to do the low air warning test. Very simple. All you're going to do is fan the brake pedal down until you hit the PSI necessary to trigger the low air warning light on the dash and the alarm sound. But this is what you have to say, because I was saying this wrong. I will now perform the low air warning test. I will fan down the brakes at or above 60 psi. The low air warning light and buzzer will come on. Do not say at around 60 psi. Say at or above. Because around 60 psi could mean 59 psi. So just say at or above, because that's what this says. It's very simple. Just go blip, 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 blip with the brake pedal, and then wait for that light to come on and stay on, and then explain that the test was successful. Now, for the emergency spring brake test, it's very similar. What you're going to basically do is fan the brakes down even more until both brake buttons pop out. But you're going to do it like this. I will now perform the emergency spring brake test. I will fan the brakes further, and between 45 to 20 psi, the trailer valve will pop out. At 40 to 20 psi, the tractor valve will pop out. Sometimes they pop out close together or pretty much at the same time. Just remember that 45 to 20 for the trailer, because the trailer is supposed to pop out first, and then remember the 40 to 20 for the tractor, because the tractor should come out second or almost at the exact same time. It'll, like on most trucks, it'll usually go and it'll pop out both. But it should always be the trailer first. Once the valves have popped out, the test was successful. And then that is all of the leakage tests. Make sure you get that right. Get it right, or it doesn't matter what you do on anything else. We had a guy fail because he started doing the low air warning test, and he hadn't keyed the truck back on, so none of the electronics were on. So he was getting the pressure down, but because the electronics weren't on, the low air warning light didn't come on, and then he failed. And it didn't matter that he had turned the key back on and been like, oh yeah, electronics are on, lower air warning light is on, that confirms it's working. Too late. Did it in the wrong sequence of events. You failed. You know, you had to come back a week later and do it again. But now, since the truck has been off for a hot minute, now what you got to do is you have to do another safety start. So, you make sure both of the spring brake valves are set. They should be, because you just did the emergency spring brake test. Make sure the transmission is in neutral, so take it out of first. Wiggle it around. Don't get too excited. Turn the key to the on position, so turn it off and turn it on. Watch the gauges do their big sweep, animation, interpretive dance. Make sure all the relevant lights turn on and turn off. Make sure you say, I'm watching the ABS light to turn on and then to turn back off to indicate there isn't a fault. If it stays on, that's probably a problem. And then start the truck and hover your hand over the key and make sure you watch oil pressure and make sure it stays between 20 and 60 psi. Same thing as before, but you got to do it again. If it doesn't do that, doesn't go between 20 and 60 psi for oil pressure, shut that thing off. Now, after that, it's very, very easy for the in-cab stuff. Next, you talk about stuff that matters. So we can talk about safety equipment, your seatbelt. Explain that the seatbelt is properly mounted and secure, not cut, worn, torn, or frayed. It latches and unlatches properly, and you demonstrate. Then you talk about your fire extinguisher. Explain that you have a 10-pound ABC fire extinguisher. It's properly mounted and secured, fully charged, up to date, and with a pin present within arm's reach of the driver. Then talk about your spare electrical fuses. Point in the direction of the fuse panel and explain there are spare electrical fuses for things in the truck that are not equipped with circuit breakers. Now remember, you don't have to say this stuff verbatim. It's just the air leakage test. As long as you get the general gist, you should be fine. 3 red reflective triangles. Point to the location of the red box holding the triangles. I don't think you really have to point at the location of where everything is, as long as you say what you need and what condition it's in. It needs to be in. There are 3 red reflective triangles that are in good condition and can stand on their own. Safety equipment. Now you can talk about air recovery. That meaning the air pressure of the air brake system. So, explain with the engine at an idle, not revving it, the air pressure should rise from 0 to 85 psi within 3.5 minutes. And then from 85 to 100 psi in 45 seconds. The governor will cut in at 100 psi and then cut out at 125 psi. If the governor fails to cut out, the safety relief valve will open at 150 psi to prevent damage to the air system. You should know this by now by the time you start doing your yard stuff. That's air recovery. Fine. While the truck is running, you should get to the good fully charged levels as you're talking about this stuff, because you're going to have to do some brake tests later. Now, up next is the indicators, or the lights. So let's talk about the indicators. Turn each indicator off. So like you go, now I'm going to check my indicators. I'm going to check my hazards, my left turn signal, my right turn signal. Going to check my high beams and my normal headlights. On some trucks, you might have to turn on your headlights first. Then you want to talk about your horns. You honk the horn on the steering wheel and say, my city horn is working. And then you want to pull the air horn and go, my air horn's working. You can also call the city horn your electric horn too, I think. Then you want to talk about your heater and defroster. Turn the heat to the highest setting, turn the fan to the highest setting, and then use the directional knob to confirm it's blowing up on the dash by the windshield, and then switch it to the setting to point below your feet, and put your hand down below and say, I can feel it blowing by my feet too. That's all you got to do there. Then you got to talk about your windshield and the wipers and the wiper fluid. The windshield is properly mounted and secured, not cracked or broken, clean, clear, and free of obstruction and illegal stickers. Wiper arms are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, with good condition rubber blades. Window washers work and properly spread fluid over the windshield. Just say that. It says something else here, but it's wordy and unnecessary. Now, you talk about your mirrors. You point to all your mirrors and explain all mirrors are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken, clean, clear, and free of obstruction, and illegal stickers, and adjusted to me. What I usually like to say is all mirrors and mounts are properly mounted and secured, not cracked, bent, or broken. They're clean and clear and you can see out of them. Just say something like that. You'll find a way to say it in a way that makes sense to you, because this isn't memorization. This is just saying what you see and what condition it needs to be in. Because in real life, when you do a pre-check for your truck, you're looking at a lot more than this. A lot more than this. If you look at only this, you're going to be driving that's illegal. Up next is your brake checks. You got your tractor spring brake check. Very simple. Just push in the trailer brake valve while leaving the tractor valve still popped out so that the parking brakes for just the tractor are engaged. Let out the clutch. Give the truck a little bit of a tug on the wheels to confirm the brakes are on. And then that's his tractor spring brake test. Then you do the trailer spring brake test. Pop out the trailer valve and push in the tractor valve and pull on those trailer parking brakes. When it gives you resistance, you say, trailer spring brake check is complete. They're working. Don't pull too hard on it, because if you're at a school where maybe the brakes aren't adjusted right, they won't fail you for it, but then they'll go to your teachers and you're just saying, this needs to be put out of service and this, that, and the other. Then you want to do your trailer service brake check. Make sure both brake valves are pushed in and just pull on the trailer hand valve or the Johnson. I don't know why it's called that. Pull on the trailer hand valve and that will activate just the service brakes of the trailer. Tug on that. Trailer service brake check is complete. And then you want to do the combination service brake check where you just have both valves pushed in. You get up to a speed of about 5 miles an hour. It doesn't really matter. You hover your hands over the steering wheel and you hit the brake and you watch for the steering wheel pulling from left to right, basically. And make sure you, whenever you're doing these tests, explain it before you do it, all right? Basically, pull forward, hit the brake, and you want to make sure the steering wheel isn't pulling from left to right. The reason being is that a few issues can cause that to happen that you need to pay attention to. If you perform the combination service brake check and the steering wheel turns left or right, that can be caused by a few things. Your brakes could be out of adjustment. You could have low tire pressure. You could have a suspension problem, uneven ground, or a shifted load. All things they need to be aware of. The only one that really isn't a problem would be the uneven ground. Everything else is kind of an equipment issue. And that's your in-cab stuff. Easy, right? Super easy. Now we can get out of the truck and we can do the outside inspection. Hopefully my truck doesn't explode this time. And again, it's super straightforward, a lot easier than it used to be. Usually you'd have to say like, all right, I need to make sure the truck isn't leaning from side to side. That could be a sign of uneven load and this and that. No. This is going to be super easy. Let me just change the time of day here real quick. It's snowy. I didn't know I could do that. Sync to system time. Oh, that's cool. Sure. Now we're doing all the outside stuff. Super easy. So, you will basically do it like this, all right? I approach the truck, and as I approach the front of the vehicle, I'm going to check underneath the vehicle for any visible fluid leaks and audible air leaks. Doesn't hurt to also mention hanging hoses or lines or wires or anything like that. Then you're going to want to talk about your headlights. You're going to explain there are 5 amber lights on top. If there isn't in GTA 5, don't worry about that. There are 5 amber lights up top. The 2 outside lights are clearance lights, and the 3 in the center are identification lights. Then you're going to want to talk about your indicator lights. The 2 amber corner lights have 4 functions: park, turn, flash, and run. The headlights are clear, and they are high and low beams. The fog lights, if applicable, are clear and only to be used during fog and poor visibility. As you're going through all the lights, you'll want to talk about the condition they're in. All the lights on the vehicle are properly mounted and secure, clean and visible from 500 feet. And I've heard people pass without saying that 500 feet crap, but, say it if you can remember it. At this point, you're going to want to open the hood. I don't know how to do that in this game. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to come to this side first, all right? And you're going to talk about your hoses. All the hoses on this side of the truck are properly mounted and secure. They have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. They are not spliced and have no visible or audible leaks. Then you're going to go to the other side where all the fluid reservoirs are. You're going to explain, all the hoses on this side of the truck are properly mounted and secured. They have no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. They're not spliced and have no visible or audible leaks. Depending on which side of the truck the coolant reservoir is on, these parts may need to be done separately. But basically, you go like this. The power steering fluid reservoir and coolant reservoir are properly mounted and secure. They are not cracked or broken. They have no visible leaks. They are filled to the proper level. The caps are present and tight. Another important one to remember, because I forgot to do it in this recording, is to check the oil level. Make sure you explain that in order to check the oil level, you remove the dipstick, clean it off with a cloth, reinsert it, and then pull it out, and make sure
that the oil level is between the hash marks.
And this is the fun stuff, because you're going to talk about steering components, which will be around here as well. The steering shaft is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken, and secured at both ends with U-joints that are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, and well greased and free of obstruction or debris. I'll grab the steering shaft and twist it back and forth and explain there is no more than 10 degrees of free play in the steering shaft. Then go to the steering gearbox. The steering gearbox is properly mounted and secured to the frame. It is not cracked, bent, or broken, and has no visible leaks. And then you want to talk about the steering linkage. It's 6 sections. It's very simple. The next 6 parts are all parts of the steering linkage. They are all properly mounted and secure. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. They are well greased and held together with castle nuts and a cotter pin. The components are the pitman arm, the drag link, the upper and lower control arms, the tie rod, and the tie rod end. And then we want to talk about suspension stuff on the steering axle. It's the only axle we talk about. The front and rear suspension hangers are properly mounted and secured to the frame. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. Then you talk about the leaf springs. The leaf springs are properly mounted and secure. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. There are none damaged or missing, and they run straight with the frame. They are secured to the axle with the saddle and U-bolts. The saddle and U-bolts are properly mounted and secure. They are not cracked, bent, or broken, and appear to be tight. Any looseness would be indicated by a shiny metal surface. Because, you know, the rubbing and all that. Then you want to talk about the shock absorbers. The shock absorber is properly mounted and secured to the frame and axle with a nut, bolt, and soft rubber bushing. The soft rubber bushing is not damaged or missing, and the shock itself is not cracked, bent, or broken, and has no visible leaks. I've never heard anyone say all that. I've heard a lot of people just say the shock absorber is properly mounted and secured and has no visible leaks. If you want to talk about the rubber stuff, right on. By this point, I think you'll just get a point for that, because some things are worth more than others. So as long as you get a little bit or a lot of everything, you should be fine. Up next is the shackle. The shackle is properly mounted and secured to the leaf spring and rear suspension hanger. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. Then you want to talk about your brake hoses. The brake hose is properly mounted and secure at both ends. It has no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. It is not spliced, and there are no audible leaks. Then the brake chamber. The brake chamber is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. It has no audible leaks. Then you talk about the brake's push rod. The push rod is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. It is secured to the slack adjuster with a clevis, a pin, and a cotter pin. Then go on to talk about the slack adjuster. The slack adjuster is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. It is well greased and has no more than 1 inch of free play with the wheels chalked and spring brakes released. Then talk about your brake shoes. Even if you can't see any, you're going to be talking about some things you can't see. The brake shoe is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. It has at least 1/4 inch of friction material, and it is free of oil or grease that would indicate an inner seal leak. And you can talk about your brake drum. The brake drum is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. It is round. It is free of illegal welds and oil or grease that would indicate an inner seal leak. I would say talk about the brake drum being mounted and secured, and then talking about oil and grease not being present, because if there were any, it would be an inner seal leak. I think those are the 2 points you really want to talk about there. Then you want to talk about your steer tires, as I have a freaking migraine. So, the steer tire is properly mounted and secure. The proper inflation is between 100 and 110 psi, checked when cold, and with a tire gauge only. There are 4 conditions you want to pay attention to when checking the condition of your tires. Make sure same size and type of tire across the axle, even tread wear across the tire, no abrasions, bulges, or cuts anywhere on the tire. Steer tires cannot be recapped or retreaded. And then explain there needs to be at least 4 30 seconds of tread depth in every major groove across the tire. It's 2 30 seconds for non-steer tire stuff like drive tires and all that. Then you want to talk about your rims, boy. Explain. The rim is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. It is round and free of illegal welds. All 10 lug nuts are present and appear to be tight. Any looseness would be indicated by rust trails or shiny metal on a steel rim. White powder and rust trails would be present on an aluminum rim or aluminium. Then talk about your valve stem. The valve stem is properly mounted and secure. It is straight, metal, and capped and has no audible leaks. I said that too fast. Explain that the oil hub on the wheel is properly mounted and secure. It's not cracked, bent, or broken. All its hardware is present. It is free of oil or grease on the outside. That would indicate an outer seal leak. To check the oil on the inside, I would remove the cap and insert a tool. There must be at least 1 inch of oil. I can move a little bit. See these lights here on the door? Now we're doing the side of the vehicle, so let's start with the lights on the door. This isn't accurate in GTA, but whatever. The side light. The side light is amber in color, and it has 4 functions. Park, turn, flash, and run. Then you want to talk about your mirror mounts. The mirror mounts are properly mounted and secure. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. You want to go to your fuel tank. This is actually accurate in GTA. That's cool. The fuel tank is properly mounted and secured. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. There are no visible leaks. It is secured to the frame with at least 2 metal saddle straps that are properly mounted and secure. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. They both have a rubber lining that is not damaged or missing, and their purpose is to keep friction from wearing a hole in the tank. The fuel cap is tight with no visible leaks. It has a rubber seal to keep fuel in and moisture and debris out. There is a safety chain present. I think the safety chain on my cap broke on one of my trucks. No, it was on the reefer trailers I was hauling. It wasn't on the truck itself. This must be the battery box over here, or the def tank. We'll start with the def tank. The def tank is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. There are no visible leaks. The cap is present and tight. The battery box is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. All batteries are present and tight. All the cables associated with the batteries are properly mounted and secure at both ends, not cut, worn, torn, or frayed, and they have no burn marks or corrosion. Now we're getting close to the coupling section. But first we need to talk about the frame and cross members. The frame, front to back and side to side, is not cracked, bent, or broken. It is free of illegal welds. The cross members are properly mounted and secured to the frame. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. All hardware is present. That's a lot of words for saying very little. I would just say that I check my frame and cross members. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. No illegal welds. And that's it. Now we're doing the coupling. Now, we're using Bluetooth airlines in GTA 5, so I'm going to have to use some pictures. First, I'm going to check my airlines. The red line, indicated by the glad hand or the color of the line itself, is the emergency line. The blue line is the service line. Both lines are properly mounted and secure at both ends with no abrasions, bulges, or cuts. They are not spliced and have no audible leaks. They are attached to the trailer with glad hands. The glad hands are properly mounted and secure. They have a rubber grommet on the inside that is not damaged or missing, and it is there to keep moisture and debris out of the air system. Now we talk about the electrical line. And there's a lot to say, apparently. The electrical pigtail is properly mounted and secure. It is not cut, worn, torn, or frayed. It has no burn marks or corrosion. It is secure at both ends with a 7-pin connector. The 7-pin connector is secured to the trailer with a spring safety latch. It works properly. Demonstrate that. There's a whole lot of crap in there that you don't need to say about all the 7 pins being present and this and that. I've seen people pass not saying that, so there you go. Then make sure you say all 3 lines, the 2 air lines and the electrical line, are held off the catwalk by a spring that is properly mounted and secured to the tractor, not missing any hardware. There is enough slack in the lines to make turns. There is also enough clearance between the tractor and trailer to make turns. Because you don't want your lines dangling down and getting caught and stuff, or getting friction from the catwalk and causing leaks. Up next, you got the apron. The apron of the trailer is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. It is well greased. There is no gap between the apron and the skid plate. The 5th wheel skid plate is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken, and it is well greased. The 5th wheel release lever is properly mounted and secured, and it is in the locked position, not popped out. Talk about the 5th wheel sliding platform. The sliding 5th wheel platform is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. All the mounting bolts are present. Or you can talk about the locking pins if it applies. The locking pins are properly mounted and secure. They are not cracked, bent, or broken. They are fully in the lock position. That's to keep the 5th wheel from sliding back and forth on the tractor. Now, the kingpin of the trailer. The kingpin is properly mounted and secure. It is not cracked, bent, or broken. And the locking jaws of the tractor are properly mounted and secure. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. And they're fully locked around the shank of the kingpin. Now we go to the back of the tractor. Back of tractor lights. Explain. The single clear light is a reverse light. The two red lights have 5 functions. Those functions are park, turn, flash, run, and brake. Explain that all the lights are properly mounted and secure, clean, and visible from 500 feet. Also, you want to make sure you say that you have 100% DOT tape across the width of the bumper of the tractor. Now we move on to the clearance lights of the trailer, which don't exist in this game. Explain. The lights on the top corner of the trailer are clearance lights. The proper color is amber. They're properly mounted secure, not cracked or broken, and they're working. You want to talk about your landing gear. The landing gear frame is properly mounted secure, not cracked, bent, or broken. The landing gear handle is not cracked, bent, or broken, is working properly, is able to go into low or high gear. The landing gear shoe, or the sand shoe, is properly mounted secure, is not cracked, bent, or broken. It's flat, free of obstruction and debris, and is in the fully raised position for travel. You might have a mid-trailer light. The mid-trailer light is the proper color of amber. Its four functions are park, turn, flash, and run. And if you have a trailer that's not too old for ABS, you'll have an ABS light back here, or just a red marker light. If you have the ABS light is the proper color of amber. If the light stays on, it would indicate a fault in the ABS, same as the ABS light on the dash. Or if you have just the red back corner light, or whatever color it is, the back corner light is the proper color of red. Its 2 functions are park and run. Then you get to the back of the trailer. All you talk about is the stuff down here, or if there's lights up there. So, back of the trailer. The 3 lights in the center are the proper color of red. They are identification lights. The outer 2 lights are the proper color of lead, and they are your clearance lights. Then you will have the other lights. The park, turn, flash, and run lights. And then the 2 inner lights are the color, which will be the color red. And then the other 2 inner lights, they have 3 functions. Those functions are park, brake, and run. Make sure you talk about your license plate light is clear. It illuminates the license plate. All that's working, properly mounted and secure, and all that stuff. Make sure you have 100% DOT reflective tape along the width of the back of the trailer. Other thing you want to say is you want to have at least 50% DOT reflective tape along the length of the sidewall of the trailer. Make sure your lights are visible from 500 feet and they're in good condition or properly mounted and secure. And once you've done all that, ask the examiner to help you test your lights, to be your spotter. So basically what they'll want to hear you say is, can you please help me test my lights? And then you'll get into the truck and you'll do left turn signal, right turn signal, brake, hazard, and that should be it. And that is the end of the pre-trip. Congratulations, Trevor, you are now certified. You can hop in this thing. We've done our maneuvers, we've done the pre-trip, now it's just time for the road test. And that usually just consists of a little bit of normal road driving, some highway driving, and if you're in a manual, you just want to be able to demonstrate you can shift gears and you don't go out of gear for any extended period of time. And that's kind of it. And don't do that. 13.6, everybody. 13.6. I just wanted to give you guys an update on what I was doing lately, why I haven't been posting anything. It's because I've been working on doing my DOT stuff and getting my CDL back. I got some Car Topics Explained stuff I want to do soon about high RPM American V8s, something about Vin Diesel's RX-7, and then I'm going to take a little break, schedule some content for December, just some vacation content, just for fun, and then we're going to do Hobbs and Shaw, and I'm going to just have my brain leak out of my ears. Take it easy, everyone. I love you, and bye-bye.